Hey everybody, welcome back to Engaging the Phenomenon. And again, this is going to be a double feature on exploring higher realities. We are honored to have back on uh, Dalia Burgoin. Uh, and again, people may have seen her recently doing mind sight demonstrations at Contact in the Desert and the telepathy with her daughter Lidu, uh, which was incredible. Again, I'm going to link it in the description. Uh, Also, Fire in the Cosmos did some extraordinary interviews with her, which I encourage everybody to watch. I'll also link that in the description. And Dahlia is just an all-around wonderful person, and she helps teach mindsight. And she has, I think, really important experiences with discovering her daughter, who's a non-speaker, uh, discovering her amazing abilities, but also, of course, her beautiful personality. So, welcome on, Dahlia.
Yeah, thank you. It's an honor to be back.
Yeah, and I mean, again, there's just so much we can talk about. But just to start off, again, I mentioned your daughter Lidu is a non-speaker, uh, and she's very much the an example of what was being explored with the telepathy tapes. In that,
Exactly.
yeah, in that there's these children who are non-speakers, uh, who are neurodivergent, who possessed just amazing raw telepathic ability. So for the audience, to try to help them understand what is a non-speaker, and yeah, what is a non-speaker? What does that mean?
So, it used to be more normal to, and you'll still hear people call the non-speakers nonverbal. And so that term is becoming more outdated because especially in the spelling community, where a lot of the parents don't really like it because they think it implies that they don't understand verbal language. And for many years, and in many places, it's still like this, where a lot of the non-speakers are understood to not understand us because they're unable to show it with their body language and with their emotions and with their words. So if you're talking, you might see one of these children making sounds and going in circles and dancing. You might see stuff like that. So to us, from our perspective, it looks like they're not paying attention at all. But in reality, they're picking everything up. The part of the brain that receives information is totally intact. And they receive the information just as much as we do. The only part that isn't functioning the same as ours is the part where they're communicating and they're showing that they understand. And again, this is the same as them showing it with their emotions and with their body language. If they're unable to show it, it's really hard for us to even think that they understand us at all. And so I like to say it's like this. It's as if we were placed into a room and we were um and someone put tape over our mouth and they tied our arms down and we had our eyes closed. Even though we can't actually respond to what's going on around us, we still pick it all up and we still hear everything. So we know what's going on. And so that's kind of like what it's like in their bodies, that they have very little control over it. Um, so that's basically in a nutshell what a non-speaker is. So it's usually a kid on the spectrum, usually a level 3, which is the more severe side of autism. So level 3 is the one where they have difficulty communicating and difficulty with motor skills and controlling their body.
And again, this telepathy tapes kind of made it famous, but it's been around in the research circles for a bit. But what is the connection with telepathy and non-speakers?
Well, that's what's so fascinating. My whole life, I knew my daughter was very special. She's a savant artist, and there was just something about her. I always knew she was kind of aware, but she couldn't show me. Um, so there were many times I felt a little sad thinking that she didn't have any friends and she just couldn't communicate with other kids, and I could tell she kind of wanted to. But once I found out about her telepathy, I can talk for hours about this, but once I found out about her telepathy, when she told me she actually had friends this whole time, and they were all meeting up at the hill, or at the hills. There's multiple places that they meet up. I felt so much more relief. My whole reality has shifted ever since it became very clear to me just how telepathic she is and how these children are, and not just my reality with her and them, but with us. My daughter will say very, very clearly that we are all telepathic. Well, the majority of us are. There are a little bit of us that aren't, but the majority of us are telepathic. And the only difference is that they use their telepathy to eavesdrop. That's the word that she uses, eavesdrop. So they use it to go to other places, to communicate with each other, to have these abstract ideas just being merged together, and they pick up all of these abstract ideas from each other. There's no way that you can exaggerate or lie or anything. You just pick up each other's information. And what's fascinating to me also is she keeps telling me that we have the capability to do it as well. I still haven't figured it out, but she keeps telling me, Mom, you can do it right now. And like I've said before, I usually use a process to teach mind sight, just so people, even though they can do it immediately, they don't know they can. And I give them a process. I haven't figured out the process for my own telepathy yet. But my daughter tells me you can do it too. Right now, still a part of my brain of my rational side says, "Well, you're a non-speaker. Your brain runs differently than me. Maybe that's why you can do it and I can't." And she says, "Nope, doesn't matter. It's just a little bit easier for them because they're not as connected to their body as we are." So one of the things that she's told me is, in order to really explore your telepathy, you need to forget your body senses. It's kind of like when you have out of body experiences or you're doing a deep meditation. Usually, I've had many OBEs, and the first thing I notice is I don't feel my body senses anymore. It feels like my whole body goes numb, and then I start to expand. And so, but that's what she's like all the time. She's always kind of expanded. And so that makes it easier for her to have that telepathic experience. What's difficult for her is to communicate in the way we communicate with language. And so, she's told me in order to communicate like us, she has to really focus on her body sensations. And that's why if you ever see me and her communicating and me and her talking, she's always asking me to like tickle her or something. And a lot of the kids will do that. And it helps them to remember where their body is and to feel the senses and to come down more to the left brain and to be able to communicate their ideas.
Yeah, it sounds almost like they need grounding, you know,
Yes, yes.
and the idea of the telepathy. I mean, I can't say for certain it's the same as she experiences telepathy, but I had such an experience with again, non-human intelligence, and it was a direct. I mean, there was no need for language. There was no room for misinterpretation at all. It was as if our consciousnesses were completely one with no misunderstandings. And it was direct, and everything could be communicated instantaneously. Um, so again, the way they have described it in the telepathy tapes and how about how you describe it, there's elements of it that are exactly like that were in my experience. So I absolutely believe that the telepathy aspect is real, but also has deeper implications. Uh,
Yeah, and what you just described sounds exactly like my experience with it and her. Um, I'm not so good on the receiving end of telepathy yet, where I can understand her thoughts 100%. I'm probably 50% or less, probably less. But what you just described is my world with her, where I can send any thought, or even right now, I'm thinking she's picking it up. Um, so any thoughts I have, if I read a book, I can go and discuss the book as if she had read it already. Or if I went on a trip, I can talk to her about it as if she was there because she has access to all of it. And like you said, there is no room for misinterpretation. She understands everything. Sometimes when I just don't want to explain something, I'm like, Lidu, just read my mind. Like, because then you'll get what I'm thinking. But yeah, I never have to actually verbally say any questions to her or anything, but I do still use a letterboard for me to get the answer from her.
Yeah, and we were talking about this before off air is, what you're doing with mindsight is that, it's a learned skill rather than just a purely innate. I mean, it is a purely innate potential, but there's a learning process involved. And, we were talking about it before, and I said, with CE5 at first, you don't need it, but you need the CE5 protocols to trick your, not that it's not even tricking. It's like it's a facilitation, right? So the CE5 protocols help facilitate CE5 or close encounters or interactions with non-human intelligences. And they're like training wheels because once you use them enough and once you have the experiences and then it's possible without a doubt and you have the conviction and the confidence, you can drop the protocols and you don't need the CE5 protocols or any contact modalities as such because you can just tune into it, right? And it becomes like
Exactly.
a language or a second nature. And you've done that with Mindsight.
Yeah, and it's exactly how I train with mindsight. With mindsight and other abilities, you're only as good as what you're capable of believing or what you're capable of knowing. And so, in the beginning, you might think the only way I could see through this is if there is a leak in the mask or something. So it might appear to you as that in the beginning, and it could appear in any way, anywhere. But what I always do is I help them with whatever it is that they can currently believe, and I'll give them that. And I'll give them a protocol. I'll give them a protocol that they can get with and they can really understand. And I really adults need it. They need a step-by-step process and seeing the progression. And I'm constantly like, look at the progression. It's been 5 minutes. Look, you're doing much more than before, and constantly telling them the progression. Um, and eventually they get there. That's one way to do it. Eventually they get there, and then once they're there, that becomes their reality. And so mindsight is now their reality. And so it's not something that they have to trick themselves into but the other way is to just trick them. And so I'll put on the mask and they're thinking the whole time they're looking maybe right here. I could be two houses behind them and they're still thinking, or, I have somebody else doing it because I need my voice to be next to them to trick them. But I could be two houses behind them and they're thinking the whole time they're looking right here. But once you show them the video afterwards, they say, okay, then now my reality is shifted. Now I know it's real. Okay, then. So there's always something that will make it so they jump over to, okay, I understand this is real stuff. And that becomes the new reality. And so once that's their new reality, oh man, paradigm is shifted. But also you can use the ability much more efficiently because you're not being slowed down by your rational thoughts. At the same time, you still get the rational thoughts in various ways within the ability. Like, for example, I've conditioned myself where anytime I put anything over my eyes, I don't really see anything until I put on a blindfold. It doesn't matter what blindfold it is, but as soon as I put on a blindfold, boom, I can see. It doesn't matter how many layers I have. Um, but the thing I had to recondition myself for is putting stuff over the blindfold because I didn't originally train myself that way. And I can do that now too, but that one I'm not nearly as good at. That one's on and off still. And but maybe colors and a little bit of shapes, those are pretty consistent now. But if you go far away and I have something over my blindfold, then it's a little bit harder still. But I also can easily overcome that just because I've done it before. So,
Yeah, and again, just you said it becomes your reality, and again, it's similar with CE5 or other kind of extraordinary human abilities, is that it it awakens something deeper in you than just the mindset, right? There's a paradigm shift that
yes.
that comes along with it, this transformative. So, uh, how is that for you, the transformation that you had
Oh,
from.
wow. Yeah. Once I noticed that, I've always studied energy sensing and energy systems and energy cultivation. Once my mindset opened, I've always felt I found the glitch in the matrix and I felt I could do anything now. All I have to do is figure out how to get my rational brain to have an explanation for it. And as long as that has an explanation, I could do anything. And so I remember thinking, I can put my hand in the wall now. I can do anything. And then once I never really played with telekinesis before that, but once I did start playing with it, I just used that same process, that same thought process, and I could do anything that I put my mind to. And it was really amazing. On the other hand, you know, a lot of people say children pick it up faster, and the main reason I think children might be a little faster, and I don't even think it's that much, but they are faster because they will just trust an authority figure and they will just kind of trust it. And so if I tell a child they can do something, they will just go and do it. And so I don't have to do all these mental tricks to get them to believe. They just, okay, you told me, so I should be able to do it. And so a kid can open up their mind sight instantly, almost I've almost every kid I've played with the blindfold, they opened instantly. Sometimes kids will just open because they've seen me do it and they're like, oh, well, she can do it. Oh, sometimes they'll think it's just me. And I say, oh, no, you can do it too. And then they'll just put it on and do it. So with adults, it's usually a big training process. But in reality, we have the ability already, every single one of us.
Yeah, and that's the idea of kids don't know that they can't do it, and therefore they
Mhm.
can. And the idea of like, and this is so true with CE5 or again these other extraordinary human potentials that we have, is that we have to get out of our own way, right? And it's that can be a process, but I think once you get the hang of it, right? Like I I dare to say, because you taught yourself mind sight and you know that there's this kind of like glitch in the matrix that you can tap into, if you wanted to go over to something like CE5 or something, you would have great success because you know that it's just this, that there's a way to do it. You just have to kind of rationalize it. Or so I think there's this very powerful aspect um of belief, right?
Yeah,
Um
and what helped me with my mindset was going to Rob's seminar and Wendy's seminar, and just seeing it being done by Claudia. She was the demonstrator at the time, and just seeing it being done, and I was like, oh, and I remember seeing it and like, whoa, how is she doing that? I just remember thinking, how is she doing that? That is insane. And then I just remember when I started barely seeing colors, I was like, wow, this is so different. And then once I actually saw, like, okay, I get it now. I get it. I get what's happening. And I forgot where I was going with that, but like you said, all I have to do is see someone do it, and I could do
well,
it because I can figure it out. I mean, I haven't figured out the telepathy yet, but yeah, once it's not even that I'd never thought I could. It's not like I thought I can't do this. It's more like I've never thought to do it because my mind never went there. And I think that's what happens with our mind sight, especially with blind people. They've probably never thought that they could do something like that. And it's amazing how a blind person can open up so instantly and so fast. When they've gone years, I've worked with a woman and she's 41 and she had never seen light in her life because she has no eyes and she was born blind. And yeah, she was able to see light on the first day. I got her to tune into light, and she got really good too. It wasn't even just guessing; it was very good where she could focus on it and she can track it and she can just track everywhere it went. And it just started with light, and then we introduced her to colors. She got super good at colors, and I introduced her to shapes and letters and numbers. And but yeah, blind people can do it, and it's just a matter of I didn't even think to look that way. I didn't even think it was possible to look without eyes, you know? So it's
yeah.
about, yeah, so it's half the time we don't do something because we don't realize we can.
Yeah, and again, there's power in working with groups. Again, and I don't want to keep harping on CE5, but it's a perfect example, and I have experience with it. Is a lot of people feel they need to do it in a group first. That group energy, uh, seeing somebody else do it is a catalyst in some ways, and it's empowering. But I think there's different levels to it because I also think there is like a kind of transmission and a resonance to that where people are picking up energetically on it, and it's like helping them mirror that. Uh, but and again, just you had mentioned this woman who is blind or has no eyes. And in the last talk, I had mentioned Marianne Shinfield. And again, an extraordinary case. Allegedly, NASA was studying her and working with her, and I don't want to say it like this, but utilizing her to see things in space, and she was able to just walk around normally, uh, as if she could see the room around her. Like you wouldn't be able to tell the difference. And in her case, at least, I don't know how she developed the ability, but she had this screen that you can see things, and there was little screens around it where she can see like different angels or she called them interdimensional beings and ETs or non-human intelligences. But the case that you're talking about, and I don't mean like it's a case, but uh, what that is going to be coming out in the public.
Yes, that one was being documented as I was working with her, and then so yeah, that one will come out in the public.
Yeah, and again, I think I I hate to say this, right? I'm getting in my own way here, but I think that's something people need to see to believe, and to some extent, and I understand why, right? Because it's like, wow, like,
Yeah, so this woman, she wears prosthetic eyes. And so they actually said, "Hey, can you take your eyes out on camera?" And she's like, "No way." And so
yeah,
I'm glad she stuck to her guns on that, but she said she will show a certificate showing that she has no eyes.
yeah,
Because I said, people are just gonna think that you have eyes and they're just gonna say, "Yeah, this is fake. She has eyes."
yeah,
And then she's just looking and no, she does not.
yeah. I mean, there's, I to some extent, there's people that are, it's going to be harder for them to swallow. There's always this rationalization process, but I do think that is shifting, and I think things like,
Yeah,
uh,
like what you said, people are going to have a hard time. We see this in the autism community a lot with the spellers, where people have a hard time thinking that the way that we used to think, that they didn't understand us, that they couldn't communicate. So that couldn't be possible that they're really spelling all of these incredible things that they're saying. And then the telepathy comes into play.
yeah,
Um, and so, but with my daughter, like because what I do work on her, what I help her progress with is her communication and her motor skills. And so she's gotten so good. The spelling has also helped her progress with her verbal speech. And so she's gotten so good that people will even say she's not really a non-speaker.
yeah,
And so
yeah,
I say, you know what? You can call her a limited speaker, whatever. She didn't start out that way, but people
yeah,
will always see her and say, no, she's not really a non-speaker. And she has, look at her, look like when we were at contact, this alarm went off, an emergency alarm. She didn't freak out at all. She was super calm and she was super collected. In the past, she would have gone like this and she would have needed those ear covers. Nothing. She was just super calm and as if she didn't even have autism at all. And so I can see people thinking, I've even had people ask me, why do you even give her the letter board if she can just say the letters? Because at the end of the demonstration, I had my daughter speak out the letters. And so they said, that's much easier. Why didn't you just have her do that? I'm like, it is not easier for her. That's a much harder skill. That's why I saved it for the end. And I
yeah,
wasn't even sure if we were going to do it because I didn't want to make her do something if she couldn't. So that's why I saved it for the end. But people will see it and she did so well. They just assume that she can do it all the time and that's the easier route. Why am I not letting her do that? And
yeah,
they don't understand how hard it is for her to be able to say something that she's thinking and getting it to come out the mouth accurately. Because a lot of what comes out of her mouth is it's kind of a reflex. It's not stuff that she has control over. So for it to be actually expressive, what she actually wants to say and meaningful, that's really, really difficult. But she's come so far. And so I've actually told the blind people too, I said, you're going to get to a place where, you don't have to give up your identity. You're still a blind person. You're going to be able to see, but you're not going to be seeing with your eyes. And so you're still in that because some of them, they were worried about losing their identity and there being a conflict between them and their peers. And I said, no, 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 you're still in that community, but you will be able to get around. And that's pretty incredible.
yeah. And I actually think that that's a really deep kind of aspect of the transformation, the identification with even what we think is real per se, right?
Mhm.
That's one thing of it. Uh, but before you had mentioned the hill, so for people watching, listening, what is the hill and how has Lidu described it?
So the hill is a place. And I say a place loosely because it's a place, it's more of a frequency that people who are telepathic, the ones that eavesdrop, like Lidu says, that they can visit. And so my daughter, since she was a little, she was born basically, or since she was young, she would always go to the hill and she would not only have friends there, but she had mentors there. So she would always have teachings there. And she was able to obtain a lot of information. And it's a place that she goes to every day. And when the way she does it is she'll walk back and forth in the dark. It's preferable that it's dark and there's a low energy. So what she always did is she was waiting till everyone would go to sleep. And then once it's starting to get dark, she would just go and pace in the dark back and forth. And you could see her kind of talking. I always joke that it looks like she's on the phone with her friends. But when we were at contact after our demonstration, I knew she was going to go want to hang out with her friends. And so we went back to the hotel and she, we didn't have, it's just a hotel room. So she went to the balcony and she would go pacing back and forth and she's just talking to her friends. And I'm like, it totally looks like she's on the phone. It's so
Yeah.
cute.
Yeah. And I think I heard you say that there's multiple hills or
Yeah, so Lidu has told me that there are multiple places that, and so we just kind of refer to all of these places as the hill. It's not just for these autistic children. It's for anyone that, what's the word? Anyone that can actually bring themselves to that telepathic ability to go visit, or if one of the kids pulls you there and takes you out. I haven't been there yet. At least I don't think I have. But she says that they're waiting for me in a tent. There's just so much I could say, but she says they're waiting for me and I need to get on it. She's been telling me every day, Mom, come on, focus on your telepathy. And I just have so much going on. I haven't been able to. But multiple hills. So she says that a lot of those kids, and she's one of them, volunteers at the hill. So when someone ascends or when someone gets there, she can help guide them to where they need to go. And usually a teacher, like sometimes they'll call the teachers angels, and she says a teacher will take them where they need to go. And it's always safe there. So yeah, multiple hills. And yeah, my daughter says she's one of the volunteers.
and again this idea of well, here's a question that actually just popped in my mind. Has she ever mentioned that there are people there that are not non-speakers or angels, right? Like just
Yes.
maybe what
Yes.
is yeah.
So you don't have to be a non-speaker. You can just ascend and you can it will elevate enough. She will say the word elevate. You can elevate to get to the point where you can get there. And you have to let go of your body's senses. You have to go into an ecstasy. That's what she calls it. So when my daughter, when she's channeling for me or for someone else, she's constantly giggling and laughing and moving around. And she just looks like she gets very childlike. And she said that is when she goes into a state of ecstasy. And basically, that's much faster than trying to meditate and be quiet for like 50 minutes and go out of body. She says that that's just the way to go there instantly is by going into that state of ecstasy. But it looks kind of silly to me, so I haven't tried it that
Well,
way.
yeah, that actually sounds a lot like what the yogis describe as like Loka, which is like a realm above this reality
Hmm.
that is blissful, right? So that's a very funny correlation that you have her saying that, and it's in like yogic literature, right? So
Hmm.
that's very interesting correlation. They say you enter this bliss and tap into these higher worlds, right? Where they're like devas, right? Which are angels, basically light beings or
Hmm.
whatever you want to call them. So that's a fascinating correlation. Um, and I think it's an important lesson too, right? Like we think we have to just sit here and be super stoic and shut off our mind. And there, of course, there could be a learning process in that, right? And kind of learning how to do that. But all this idea of tapping into this bliss, right, to elevate your consciousness, like people will say, raising your frequency, right? And I think that there's a simplicity and a directness to that, but sometimes we have to unlearn, get out of our own way again with
Hmm.
accessing that. But
Yeah, exactly. And that's how I've always understood it. To go out of body, it would take me forever. Well, not forever, but I would lay there until my body went numb, and then I have to quiet my mind. My mind has to, after about 30 or 40 minutes, my mind finally gets quiet, and then my body goes numb, and then I start to expand, and then I can go out. It takes a while. She says it's instant as soon as you go into that state of bliss, and all you have to do is act like a child.
Yeah, and it's funny too because then I made a video called meta contact, and this is a reference to the Buddhist practice and term metta. It's
Hmm.
METTA in loving kindness. So you
Yes.
basically put yourself in a state of loving kindness, and for me, actually, the my most potent form of contact modality or CE5 is not the CE5 protocols, but it's actually entering that meta state
Hmm.
and just being there and emanating it and tuning in that way. And that's been the most direct and powerful way for me. Um, and but again, speaking of the hill and the hills and frequency and bliss, we talked about it last time also, but I do want to get into it again. Is the teams is and your daughter Lidu, when she said she has the ability to discern spirits.
Hmm.
So what is the team, and is the team the same as angels, or help me out here?
Yeah, from what I understand, the team is the team of angels you were born with. And so I don't remember what I said last time, but basically, we're all born with a team to help us out. And they won't interfere with our lives unless we ask them to directly. But and they're not somewhere at a distance that you have to pray for, and then maybe they'll come down and help us out. They are around us at all times. It's as if they are right here in the room right now. We just don't see them because our eyes can't see them. These eyes can't see them. And what was I going to say? I was just thinking about my mind sight.
Yeah, the
There was
team, angels, non-human intelligence, I guess,
Yeah, I just
interdimensional
remember.
beings.
Yeah, well, when my mind sight first opened, that was the first thing I was afraid of seeing was of seeing beings because I
Right.
noticed I could see in the dark. And I remember thinking, whoa, it's like a light is on. And I got really excited, but then I got afraid. I'm like, I don't want to see. And I remember thinking, I don't want to see any like faces in my face. And then I did like that. And then it turned dark again and I couldn't see anymore in the dark for a while. So I haven't actually seen with my mind sight any angels or anything because I think I scared myself and I wasn't ready. I think I should start working on that. I have seen the angels one time, and this was before Lidu told me about them. But I remember doing a meditation like that. I was laying down and going out, and then I saw seven angels above me, and they looked like typical angels, what you would expect with wings, and they were glowing. And there were seven of them, and they basically told me anytime that you want someone healed, you can just send us there and we'll go directly there. But when they said you, they weren't just talking to me. It was like the human race, like, yeah,
Yeah.
we're all connected. So they were saying you as the human race. And I thought that was extremely cool. And then when Lidu explained angels, she said they will appear as how we expect. The only thing is they usually will have light around them because they need to make themselves visible to our human eye. And so the glow is just so that our eyes can perceive them.
Yeah, and this is fascinating on so many levels. And I don't know if I ever experienced mind sight, but I had seen uh, you know, directly like a light being, right? But also in another, I was having a like in your face contact experience, the one that where I had the telepathic lock on, and it was like a pure consciousness merging thing. And I had my eyes were open, but I had an overlay. And the overlay I could see directly, even though my eyes were open, were um, these two beings, right? Blonde hair, blue eyes, spacesuit kind of thing. And I at the time I took it very literally, right? But then as time went on, I was contemplating the experience over, many years. But uh, I came to think that maybe that what I was seeing was a representation
Hmm.
of what the beings actually were, not what they literally are or look like. And they were trying to give me something relatable or something again I can expect because I read about it or knew about it from UFO literature or whatever's out there in the movies and what have you. And I saw this male and female blonde hair, blue eyed loving entities that said they're related to us. And when you talk about this team, right? I think, and again, this is an impression that I'm getting when I'm talking to you, maybe like an epiphany, if you want to call it that, or a realization is that when we do CE5, I think we're interacting with our team, right? Like with beings that we're either here with or that came with us. And um, when we do CE5 or contact modalities, we're allowing them to manifest somehow. I mean,
It's
that's,
interesting. Someone just said this on, I was just talking to someone else, and he was saying he thinks that the angels and the beings that we're trying to communicate with, the UHA and everything, and UAP, I mean, um, he was saying that he thinks they're the same beings. And but I asked Lidu about that because they sound so similar. Like, because when Lidu describes like the extraterrestrials and the CE5, and whenever she talks about any entities that are, she makes it sound the same. She says you could just ask them for assistance, and they're benevolent and they help out. And I remember thinking, Lidu, are it just sounds like you're talking about angels. And then Lidu says, no, they are different. But I think but she has lots of entities that she talks to. I think there's just
yeah.
so much more than we realize.
Well,
And so yeah, she even talks to, she can talk to people who have passed on and stuff, but she also can talk to people who have never been born, or who so she can talk, she has friends like that are humans that have never been born, or or she can talk to the mentors. I don't know if who the mentors are, but there's all
yeah.
these different ones that she talks about. And but yeah, she does talk about people that have lived and are kind of stuck, and that she helps them. So she does that sixth sense stuff.
Yeah.
When she told me that the first time, I'm like, Letha, are you serious?
Yeah. Well,
You're
and
doing this at the same time as being a little girl.
yeah. Yeah. And I yeah, maybe that's a story for another time that I can't
But I
break into
do.
all.
We don't know. For me,
I
unless we're
think,
having a telepathic experience with the C5 experiences, I don't think we can differentiate them between angels and the team.
I think that it's one of the things that's going on. I don't want to say it accounts for all experiences with UFOs and non-human intelligence and even CE5. I think that just when you're doing CE5, you're opening your communication up for the team, but also other intelligences, maybe other people's teams, right? That's something that I always wondered about, right? Because I think in the idea of either Dr. Robert Gilbert, who had passed, and Rudolf Steiner, they talk about this idea of karmic biography of, we have this one singular thread of consciousness, but with these past and even future lives. And somehow, this team may have been with us for multiple lives, right? And
Yes, I
getting,
believe that.
yeah. So I,
I actually, the way I understood Lidu, she made it sound as if we're all on the same level, and maybe like it's as if like we're all taking turns, and right now is like our turn. But at the same time, it just gets so deep.
yeah, it
At the same
does.
time, she says that she accesses multiple timelines at once, and that
Right.
she talks to me on other timelines.
When I had something akin to an NDE, I had a direct experience of past, present, future simultaneously, no question in my mind. And it was this spherical awareness. And anytime I try to think about it and I try to explain it, like my brain starts to go a little haywire, and it becomes uh almost immobilizing, honestly. My brain starts to kind of like short circuit. And
That's interesting. I had one experience where I can tell, this happens sometimes where it's just spontaneous going out of body
yeah,
because I did too much energy work or something that day. And so I remember looking in the mirror and it was starting. I'm like, oh no, I'm going in between dimensions. And I remember
yeah,
looking in the mirror and I could see myself as a child and as bones and as an old lady. And I saw all of it at once.
yeah.
And I remember thinking, whoa, must be what it's like and to see multiple at once. And then I went and laid down because I'm like, okay, I'm about to go out. So let me go
Yeah.
lay down.
That's fascinating because too, I've been having the like OBEs, but mo from on my end, mostly spontaneously since I was young. And that helped
Mm.
open me up. And I mean, I was having the not, entity experiences back then too. And I,
So spontaneous, did you mean you were walking around and you could
no, no,
feel
no, no.
it?
It was always when I was laying down.
Oh,
And,
okay.
but I wasn't trying to facilitate it. It would just happen.
Yeah.
But I was always aware. I was always aware when it was happening and fascinated and usually go, slam right back in and like, oh my God, that's me. I'm looking at
Hmm.
myself kind of thing. Um, but
Yeah,
I had a
I've heard
similar
that too.
experience to when Lidu, when she paces back and forth in the dark, that we'll talk about that another time, actually,
Oh, wow.
offline, because I used to have this thing that I did. Um,
Did you
but
ever used to get scared? Because this used to happen to me where I could feel myself going out and when I was younger, and I'm like, I don't want to go out because I'm scared right now and I'm trying to force myself to stay in, but I can't. I'm feeling almost like I'm being pulled out. I don't know. Have you ever had that?
usually for me, I, it would be after the fact, but
Mm.
I had a lot of like enjoyable experiences, too, but for me, because of the way my childhood was, the OBE thing was almost a refuge for me
Mm.
because of early traumatic experiences, and I think that's in part what in part isolated me in this kind of expanded dimension thing. But being able to do it, I think for me, unfortunately, trauma had a role in that, and but to on a better
Was-
note, uh, this idea of the team and the hill, uh, again, they were explored in telepathy tapes is fascinating to me.
What's
And
also fascinating to me is my daughter somehow can see them in real time.
right,
And she sees them at all times. It's not like where they have to glow in order for her to see them. She sees them all the time. And she describes it as it's, I don't know how she sees, but she says most of what she sees is with her ears. And she's constantly telling me, you need to use your ears to see. You need to, and it's the frequencies that
wow,
you
this
can
is
see.
fascinating. For me, I frequently get this frequency thing, right? I think people are aware of that, right? You get this frequency thing, but in the book, China Super Psychics, right? It took me years to find this PDF, like years. But now it's like kind of all over the internet because the internet became crazier and you can get
Hmm.
like anything at any time. But in that book, written by Paul Dong, he's talking about these super psychic children, in China, and a lot of them were seeing with their ears, and they were
Wow.
tested by researchers that were part of Omni magazine. And I said, I'm going to send this to you after we talk because it's fascinating. But the kid was seeing with his ears. So that's another interesting correlation I didn't expect to come upon.
Yeah, she says she always sees with her ears, and many people have often asked her when she does telepathy, how do you see it? Like how, and it's always in the air. Always says it's in the air.
Yeah.
Um, there was one time we were doing an experiment. This was actually captured, and in the experiment before I actually rolled. So, okay, let me tell you what the experiment was. So, I had
Hmm.
to roll some dice and it gave me a random word. And then I had to have her say the letters of the word out loud. It was always a 4-letter word. And before I even rolled the dice, she looks right into the camera and she goes, and she says it verbally too. She goes, it's going to be an M. And she goes, hello, M. How are you? She's just like that. And she
Yeah.
says, it's going to be an M and then she just kept saying an M and N and and so I remember coming over to her with so I gave her a blank piece of paper and she would just say the letters out loud. And the first thing she said was M, or is it an N? And so it was very weird. It's like she knew what it was going to be and she knew she was going to struggle on, because the M and the N were together in her vision, I guess. And in the word, they were together. So she kind of struggled on which one was first because they came together.
Yeah.
But yeah, but she looked in the camera and said it's going, and it was the weirdest thing, but they captured it. And they said this is probably we think we've captured precognition. And so I asked her about it, and she said yes, it was precognition. And I asked her if we can train her on that, which I know I can, but she says, yeah, but we should focus on the other stuff first because that's going to be the easiest and quickest thing to prove.
Yeah. Are you able to talk about some of the other tests that they've been doing?
So another test that we're doing right now, and which she is already doing well, is I'm just doing random letters, and she's holding the board by herself, and I'm across the room. And so I'm just thinking the random letters, or I'm writing them down and showing, and she's able to do it like that by herself. And we're gonna have a talk on Monday. Now they're wanting her to use a like a screen keyboard
Hmm.
instead of holding a letterboard. So we'll see. I'm going to talk to them. So anything that they ask, I can get her there, and they recognize it. I because I teach all of this stuff. Like I know I can get her there. It's different with Lidu because it's always left brain. Like I have to get her progressing in the left brain area versus with psi abilities, I progress them into the right brain more. Or but yeah, but so yeah, that's what we're gonna see where we're gonna go with that later. But right now, she's at that point where I could be across the room and she's independently spelling what I'm, and it could be random letters. It doesn't have to even be a word.
Yeah, and you guys are like the perfect team. I can't emphasize that enough between you and her and the synergy and it's I mean it's serendipitous, right? Just um
Yeah, she told me yeah, she's told me before that she chose me to be her mother. Um, well, she said we were both trying to figure out this life. And I said, "Hey, in this life, I want a great teacher or I want a disabled child. That's what I want to experience." And Lidu said she's decided to do both. She said,
yeah.
"I'll just do both." And then she said she was the one that chose her disability. She said, "I chose this disability because it would be the best way to teach the world and become the teacher." And her voice is a lot more powerful because of how she started out.
Yeah. And the tests that are going on right now are they're going to be publicly
Mhm.
and how is that going to come out? Like
So
scientific
it's going to
papers
be
or
peer reviewed.
yeah.
We're working with Stanford and Harvard right now. It's going to be peer reviewed this year, and they said they're going to put it on the front page and everything. But it's also going to be in a documentary. Like they're also documenting the actual experiments, and they're going to have episodes of them being shown. And so that's all going to come out.
Yeah. I'm really looking forward to that because again, I think you know, I talk about UFOs on this channel and whatnot, and there's the whole UFO disclosure thing, and I think that this is um, just if if not more impactful and important to the whole disclosure thing is all of this stuff, and I think that's like the deeper realization implication. And again, even if somebody has like a CE5 experience where they have the direct realization that there's non-human intelligence, but the deeper kind of realization of that is like, oh my God, like how was I able to do this? Right. And then directly
Yeah.
connect with another intelligence consciously.
Yeah, it didn't click to me that this was all related. I know Lidu said it was related, but it didn't click until I went to contact and I said, okay, I get it. The biggest thing that makes it all connect is the telepathy. Um, it's the fact that the non-human intelligence, it's like we can communicate with them the same way we can communicate with angels if they're not the same thing.
Yeah.
And and also Lidu has specified that they're helping us to evolve and they're helping us to be more telepathic and the other correlation is that we can ask them for help. I have to ask her more about this. It's just that we have so much going on. I can't ask her everything, but yeah, it's like it's we have access to getting assistance from them too. These
Yeah.
these beings that Lidu said are not angels, but
Yeah.
they're still here to help us.
Yeah. And again, I'm just putting this up front because people are going to say, oh, like these entities are misguiding you. You don't know what they are. You can't trust them. I'm putting this out front because I know people are going to say that, but in my experiences, and again, people would say, of course, well, they would manipulate you that way. It felt very much um, like what you were saying, Lidu described, in that they're helping us evolve and guiding us. Because in all my experiences, It seemed that they were directly teaching me and showing me how consciousness works and how you can interact with not only them, but you can interact directly with reality itself. And so I don't see how that is me somehow being manipulated by me opening my consciousness and awareness and learning these different things and again that's a whole nother thing, but I'm just putting that out there as my impression, right? Ultimately I don't know, but that my impression is basically that. So um I there was I I hope to have a whole series with you because I did want to get into all of your energy work and all that stuff, but we did say here we were going to do a like a mind sight demonstration.
Yes. Before we do that, I do want to say something. Do you remember the book Childhood's End? I think that's what it's called.
I'm familiar with it, but I never read it.
It's a short read. I think it's about an hour or something. But Lidu said that book, she said it's like just like real life, or it's just like the way it actually is. So the book, I'm not going to go into, not going to spoil it, but it brings up UAPs, it brings up telepathy, it brings up angels, it brings up how a bunch of the children are doing it all suddenly. But the book said it's exactly the way it really is. Um,
I know what I'm reading tonight.
yeah, I read it years ago and it didn't like, but when I read it again, I had Lidu and she was, because we were driving, we were actually driving to Contact and we listened to it in the car and Lidu goes, yep, that's how that's exactly how it is.
Yeah.
And so it was yeah, it's fascinating. So anyway, what you were saying, what we were talking about today just reminded me of the book and it just came up out of nowhere. Maybe Lidu was telling me to
Yeah,
bring
right.
it up.
Yeah. Probably. I can't wait for the public to hear more from her. Mostly because I want to hear from her too. So I'm really looking forward to her
Yeah, she'll be live at the she'll be demonstrating at the Sky Games and at
San
Bliss on the
Francisco.
Bay. It's in San Diego.
Yeah,
We'll
San
be doing
Diego.
that. It's
Yeah.
in September. So after we're done with our experiments, then we can also she would be fine coming on a podcast too, but it would have to be done after we're done our documenting her experiments and everything. We promised we would have her focus on that instead of doing podcasts and
Yeah. Yeah,
stuff.
absolutely.
But
I mean,
she will be able to come in the future and talk to you.
yeah, I'd love that. And hopefully one day I can meet you guys because this is really incredible stuff. But
Yeah.
we said we were going to do the mind sight demonstration. Yeah, and again,
So
I
I'm going to attempt to just do multiple layers since people love to say that, oh, you're just looking under the mask or something ridiculous.
yeah,
I have had a headache all day. So I don't know how many layers I can put on and still see, but we'll see. So with me, what works is if I can make it comfortable enough where I don't feel, where it's easy for me to forget what I'm wearing. So I'm taping my eyes closed with the patches, and I'm
yeah.
going to use eye pirate patches over that. Hopefully, I'll be able to see still. Um, and then, okay, and then here is a mask. So here's this. Very hard to see anything out of this mask.
And since you're doing this
Total blackout.
while we're talking, as you're putting these layers on, you're still seeing in like normal vision.
So until I put a mask on, I don't see. It totally makes me blind.
Wow. That's such a fascinating.
Okay, so I'm gonna try one more mask. I just got this mask today. I don't know if this is gonna work. If it doesn't, I'll just take it off.
Okay. That's fine. I mean,
Yeah, I can. Oh man, it's a little hard to see with this one, but I can still see. I can still. Yeah, I can do it.
you can? Okay.
It's a little
So,
hard, but I can do it
okay.
it's
You know
because it's
what?
kind of squeezing my head. But I'll take it off if the window's closed.
No, take it off. Don't worry about it.
No, well, let's
I
try it first,
okay.
and then I'll
Okay.
take it off.
Okay. Let's see if you can read what this says.
It
I,
says angels and aliens.
correct. I'm sorry. Are you seeing that backwards or
No, no, it's clear.
okay? Um, okay. Let's see what. Oh wow. I mean, that's fascinating to me.
Mhm.
Okay.
And that says CE5 Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
And that says the wisdom codes. Oh man, there's
Yeah.
some small writing there.
Yeah.
If I
Oh
take
yeah.
off this one, I could probably see it, but oh, okay. It says ancient words to rewire our brains and heal our hearts.
This is a fascinating book by if anybody's watching. Okay, here. Let's try this.
So that is, what are that? Trees with some beautiful sky, like rainbow color sky. It's dark though. It's like a night sky.
Yeah, my daughter drew that.
Like snowy, snowy.
Yes, yes.
Yes, you tell her she's a great artist.
Yeah, here.
And that is a sunset on the like the ocean. And
Wow.
it has a nice, beautiful pink sky or orangey sky,
Yeah,
something
yeah.
like that.
I'm just so fascinated with this, but and I mean, to some extent, we're on an honor system here. I can't see through your blindfolds, but it's
Mm.
I just want to so anybody watching this channel and takes me seriously, I
So you
absolutely
can look
believe.
under here. You can see that I can't see anything. There's
Yeah,
my eyes are not exposed at all.
yeah, that I believe this is absolutely genuine. I don't think that she has some kind of small, even it, like, okay, I want to paint
Here's
this
a
picture.
making sure I don't have any kind of.
Yeah,
Someone said that at contact that I had something in my ear. It was my mic,
yeah.
but
And even if let's just play devil's advocate and say she had like a small hole somewhere in one of the masks or all of them. Do you think if she had a hole in one mask and even another and another, she'd be able to see through all those layers, even if there was a pinhole that we were
so yeah,
somehow
let's
not
look at
able to
these.
see?
So again, that one's off. And then we have this. Oh, then I pull these up. Now these, and then these. So again, these are sealed.
Yeah,
In fact, I can't see anything right now because I've conditioned myself
yeah,
to not see until a mask is on. So,
yeah,
and I did that on purpose for my own, so my own rational brain won't ever think I somehow I'm peeking. But I could, if I wanted to, I could push through and see the through the patches if I
yeah.
wanted to. I
And
could use mind sight. I just don't want to.
yeah. And I want to do one more just with I'm gonna
Just the
write
mask,
yeah.
or
Yeah. You
okay, I'll
could
just put on a mask.
yeah. And I'll just write, let me see. I know with your mindset you can see a lot of things. I don't know if you can see read my handwriting.
It says awakening.
Yes. Okay,
I'll
let me try something else. I'm gonna try just a few. Um, and again,
put on a different mask
yeah,
just
sure.
so you can see I can switch them up. I
Yeah.
have several.
And
I
I'm
always play with mini masks.
yeah, I'm writing this in real time right now, so there's no way she can guess what I'm gonna write.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay. Let's see this.
So it says 8675309.
Yes. Okay, and let me do like two more. Um um hmm, trying to think of something. I mean, any of this is really like hmm, I'm
It's
trying.
funny when a sighted person does it, the people assume, a small amount of people, but people just assume there must be cheating in some way, so must be peeking in some way. When a
Yeah.
blind person does it, it's always, well, they're not really blind.
Oh,
That's what
yeah. Yeah. Um okay, I'll try this one.
and that one says open your mind.
Yeah. Okay.
And that one says open your mind sight.
Okay. And we'll do one more.
Okay. My friend's gonna watch just later. She goes, oh, it's the one I gave her today.
Yeah.
and then it says, "You are telepathic."
There you go. All right. So I mean, I hope that is a good demonstration for people. I just completely made up all those in real time and wrote them here, and there's no way somebody's going to just randomly guess that. And again, I can't emphasize enough. This is being documented under scientific scrutiny. There's just talking about a peer-reviewed paper here. It's going to come out. Um,
Yeah, that's for my daughter's telepathy, but I am also doing scientific studies as well for my
yeah,
mindset. So
yeah,
with ions, I am going to be doing some. I haven't started yet, but they're working the funding out right now. And I also have been doing some with Alex Gomez. And so with him, I don't know if I mentioned on the last call or not, but with him, we actually have a blindfold that has cardboard paper in the front, Velcroed, and then there's also cardboard paper on the sides behind top. And so I am playing with that one where I'm showing them that I can see through that one.
yeah.
And like, yeah, so we are doing lots of things to just figure out what's going on. What I love about some of these lab conditions and stuff, that they're not trying to debunk, they're trying to just see what's going on.
Right.
They're not coming from a place of this is not happening. They're saying, okay, well, let's see what's going on. And so they'll actually put little cameras and things there to make sure that just to see what's happening, if any photons are getting in at all, and what's going on. So it's so fascinating, and I'm excited to see how it's working because I know it works. I don't know how, and it's going to be really interesting, especially with the blind people. I don't know how it's working, but they somehow are seeing. I mean, you can see behind your head too, and they can see behind their head, but but where they see in the front, it always correlates to where the eyes are, even though their eyes aren't working, and it correlates to where our mindset usually opens up first. So it's just so fascinating.
And I just want to remind people of wow, what a special time that we live in right now, right? Where all this stuff is like coming into the public awareness. You have the UFO thing, the UFO reality, non-human intelligence, but this human potential, telepathy. It's like where does it end, right? It's so fascinating, and I honestly, um, I feel so blessed to be here at this time. Again, maybe chosen, right? To be here at this time, or that like the soul contract idea, right? That we chose to
Mhm.
incarnate in this time and participate in this. What our friend Grant Cameron calls the biggest game, right? He called it the Super Bowl, but then the biggest game. Like we're in the Super Bowl of this like amazing unveiling of reality. And again, I just want to thank you for everything that you're doing, uh, and your daughter, and you're really putting yourselves out there, and it's very brave and courageous to do that. It takes a lot of wherewithal, um, and sacrifice, right? Like you're putting your time into this, you're putting yourselves out there, you're putting your necks out there, and in my opinion, in service to humanity. So I want to personally thank you, and also happen to be such a kind and warm person. So don't ever change, please.
Oh, thank you. Oh, yeah. It's like I said before, I would have never put myself out in the public if it wasn't for what Lidu would say. The team is the ones that have told us it's the time. And I felt so safe because I know this is what we're supposed to do. This is what we're here for. And it makes me very, it's so, what's the word? It's just so satisfying to be doing something that I feel is very, very helpful to mankind and humankind. I just feel like it's going to help all of us evolve, and I can't even believe I'm being even a part of that. I feel like you're a part of that too. You're bringing a lot of awareness to everyone. There's so much stuff I'm learning just from you every time you talk, and then you're providing this platform. So yeah, we're all a part of it, especially yeah, the more I see it, the more I think the UFO stuff, and it's just so related to the telepathy. There's something very related.
Yeah, and again, I wouldn't be here without those experiences. So and in having those experiences, I felt obligated. I felt like I was activated for a mission in a sense. I don't want to like dramatize it or what have you, but it very much felt like an obligation and a responsibility in having those experiences that to share that with people. And in the telepathy that I experienced with these entities, they told me that they wanted people to know about them. And that's in part why I'm here doing this today, and in turn how we connected, right? So if you think about it, it's like it's really incredible. And I think that everybody here watching and listening to this now, everybody on this planet has a role to play in this and can participate in the same way, and like have these synchronicities align, and again just like open up this whole um magnificent quality of reality to everybody. So is there anything that where people can find you or your work or contact you, or even though I'm sure you're getting jammed up with like communications right now, or where people should look for you? You're going to be participating in the Psy games.
Yeah, so
um
you can yeah, I will be in the Psy Games, and I will be at Bliss on the Bay in San Diego, and we will be doing demonstrations and talking there. I will eventually have a way for people to communicate with me more directly. I just haven't done it yet because too many people already communicating, and very busy time right now this month and next month. But definitely I am going to be doing a lot of trainings for especially wanting to focus on blind people, but anyone that wants to pick up their psi abilities, I will be doing trainings for that. And that's very exciting. Until then, you can message me. You can just link my YouTube channel. I have one that I used to just have just for clients years ago that I started using a little bit more again. So you can use that one. And you can message me directly through there.
all right, so again, thank you so much for coming on, and I'm going to link a bunch of stuff in the description, so everybody go in the description, look at the links. There's going to be a lot of cool stuff there, other interviews that she's done and demonstrations, and I look forward to speaking to you sometime soon.
Yeah, thank you so much. Same here.
All right, take care.